Hello and welcome to AFcast. I'm your host Malcolm, and today I'm going to be talking about the new update for Apex Legends, which is Season 3. And this update is completely game-changing in my opinion. It's a really big update compared to the other seasons in my opinion. And yeah, let's get into it. So the new character for this season is Crypto. He has a drone that he uses, and that's kind of mainly what his purpose is that drone and recon. So he's our newest recon member and our second ever since Bloodhound. But his passive ability is he's able to scan people up to 30 meters away while he's on his drone. And he can also scan people's banners on their death boxes, and it shows how many opposing squads are within 200 meters of the banner. And that is telling you the amount of squads, not the amount of people. So there could be 5 squads, but only like 10 people total or something like that. So, yeah. His tactical is just his ability to deploy and call back the drone, because you can recall it, but it can also be destroyed. And if it gets destroyed, then that means it's a 40-second cooldown. But if you want to as well, you can leave your drone somewhere, and until you're out of range, you don't have to recall it back, and then you can always get back on your drone from where it was. But all you have to do is press down on the D-pad or whatever button you use on PC in order to call back this drone of yours. Which is really helpful for if you need to use it again, because the recall is just a few seconds. It doesn't take long at all. But if you do go out of range of the drone, then it will automatically be recalled for you. So, yeah. His ultimate ability is a EMP, which he deals with his drone. So you fly your drone into an area and you activate the EMP. It has a charge up, and then it deals 50 shield damage to anyone who's in the area, destroys traps, and it slows down enemies. And traps go for like anything that other people can set out. So this goes for like Watson's ultimate, Caustic's gas Nox traps, or even other Crypto drones as well. And overall in Crypto's playstyle, I'd say he is better for ranged attacks, because usually you're going to be staying farther back trying to get intel with your drone. But at the same time, they've done a really good job at making Crypto still a more fast-paced character. So he can still fit in with closer range. It's just that I prefer to do a longer range. That way I can keep using my drone, or I could drone ahead of my teammates while they're getting ready to make a push. So that way I can EMP and then everyone pushes in. There is also a completely new map, which we have not seen yet. We've seen stuff be added onto King's Canyon, which was the previous map. But now this map is called World's Edge, and this is actually 1.5 times the size of King's Canyon. And it really doesn't feel that way. It feels about the same size or even smaller probably, but that's also because it has a lot of mountainscapes that you have to avoid. But yeah, so there are more, I think it's also because the named places are a lot bigger than they were in the previous game, because the named places are really big, and pretty much all of them are high tier loot areas. So like any area is really good for getting loot. It's just that some areas have more loot than others do. And obviously some areas are also more hot than others are with how many people like to drop there. And also now, instead of a supply train, instead of a supply ship, there is going to be a supply train. There is a rail system that goes around the entire map, and even cuts into the middle of it a little bit. And essentially, if you land on this, you'll get some weapons, and you'll also get some really good loot. It is very high chance that you'll get level 3 or level 4 stuff, which is purple or gold items. And also, but it's also only should be like 2 people at a time that actually go on the train, because there's only 6 of the supply bins total, and that's all that's on the train. is those 6 supply bins. So it runs out really quickly of supplies. But it does have train stations that it will stop at. And when it does stop at those train stations, more supply bins will pop up at the stations. And then when the train is starting to leave, those supply bins will go back down into the ground, which is a pretty cool feature in my opinion. But the supply bins that come up at the train station have the type of loot that is for the area, not for the train. So if you're in a high tier loot area, then you'll get high tier loot in those supply bins. You won't get the loot that you would normally get from the train, which kind of sucks, but it makes sense. Otherwise, they'd be way too OP. Also, all over the map, there are flying loot bots, and they're usually in the same exact areas, so you don't really have to go looking for them much as long as you know where they are. And these are kind of instead of loot ticks, and these bots are holding a sphere underneath of them, and you can see it changing colors. That's it cycling through the rarities. And so if you want to, you can time it to get a certain rarity. And one of the rarities is even the gold, which is level 4 that you were able to get. But you do need to be careful because the bot is one shot, but the box that it's holding, like the little sphere thing that it's holding, is 70 HP. And you need to be really quick if you want to get a legendary loot or even... but if you miss, then you'll probably you'll still get some good loot from that thing. So it's pretty nice still. You can also, from these loot bots, get vault keys. And the vault keys are used to open 3 different vaults, which are spread around the map. They are in the same spot every time. And the key will tell you a position on the map of where you're supposed to go. So basically whatever key you pick up will lead you to one of the 3 vaults, which can suck if the vault is already out of the circle or it's going to be like on the other side of the map or something. But these vaults are completely filled with loot, and all of the loot that's in there is level 3 and 4, which once again is epic or is purple and gold loot, which is just insane. And you get some really good stuff in there. You can usually get a full set of gold stuff in there, a full set of purple stuff in there, plus a lot of hop-ups and stuff that you can get, and like special attachments. So it's really nice. There is also a new gun in the game, which is called the charge rifle. So the charge rifle uses energy ammo, and it is a new sniper rifle variant. And it doesn't really have anything special. You're just able to put extended mags on it, sniper stocks, and scopes for it. So there's no really special attachments that you can add onto it. But basically what it has is it has a small beam that starts shooting out of it that does minimal damage. But this is it charging up, and then once it charges up, it releases a big shot that will deal a lot of damage. And so if you're able to follow someone with the beam and then hit them with the big shot, you are able to do a ton of damage with the charge rifle. But it is hard to do. It's a bit hard to aim sometimes as well, but it is really OP if you're able to get it down to a science. Now I'm going to go into the legends and kind of what has been changed for them. So for all of the legends, now all of them have the Executioner perk, and if you don't know what that is, it used to be on the golden armor when you would get it, but now this is available no matter what. So if you execute someone, you will gain back all of your armor, which is really nice, or your shields or whatever you want to call it. But you'll gain all of it back if you execute someone. But you do have to be careful with that, obviously, because that leaves you very vulnerable. Now, Gibraltar, his dome shield is now able to, basically if you're healing within his dome shield, you're using the healing items 25% faster, which is pretty significant in such a fast-paced game. Now they've also increased the throw distance by 60% for his dome shield, so you can throw it significantly farther as well. And they've increased the cooldown from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. So with all of these buffs comes a slight debuff as well, but it evens it out a bit. And his defensive bombardment has had its cooldown significantly decreased by 1.5 minutes. So it was 4.5 minutes, but now it's 3 minutes. And its duration is increased, though, or decreased, I mean. It is decreased, though, from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. So you get it more often, but it is less powerful. And also you get the throw distance for the, like, flare or whatever it is you throw for it to call down the bombardment. They've increased that distance, so you're able to throw it by 36%, which is, once again, significant. For Bloodhound, for his Eye of the Allfather, which is his, like, scan around an area, they've now reduced the animation time to activate it by 33%. And now it immediately tells you how many targets have been pinged via his recon or his Eye of the Allfather thing. And for his Beast of the Hunt, they reduced that animation time to activate by 30%. So all of his stuff is a lot easier to use now. That was one of the only reasons why I wasn't playing him, was because I would get frustrated because I felt like I couldn't use his abilities unless we were getting the jump on an enemy, so that way I had time to activate the stuff. But now it actually feels a lot better. It doesn't feel as constricting as it used to. But along with the Beast of the Hunt, they've increased the movement speed bonus from 25% to 30%, which is really nice. You're significantly faster now with Beast of the Hunt as well. For Bangalore and her Rolling Thunder, they've increased the damage by double, from 20 to 40. So people used to just tank it and would just run through her bombardment as it's going off because it didn't do a lot of damage. But now that would be a bad thing to do, because now everyone on your team will take a significant amount of damage and will be concussed, obviously. So it is so now they've made that a lot better. And honestly more, because I didn't really like Bangalore's ultimate because it didn't feel like it did much. I like how they increased the damage now, and it feels more fair. And for Wraith and her Dimensional Rift, you can no longer deploy it if you're downed before placing it, because that was kind of a thing you were able to do, and then you were able to still place it down to where you need it, and then even get away as you're downed, which was a little OP in some circumstances, but they've gotten rid of that now. For Pathfinder, his grapple, it's been, like, the projectile velocity has been reduced by 33%, which means it takes a fraction of a second longer to actually grapple onto something, but the behavior of the grapple itself remains the same. And then for his zipline, it's been, like, the cooldown for it has been increased from 90 seconds to 120 seconds. So yeah, that's for all of the legends. And for kind of like the new looting stuff in the game, they have removed the disruptor rounds and skull piercer rifling, but they have increased the base headshot damage for the DMR and the Wingman, which were the guns that you could put the skull piercer on. And so the headshot damage for those have been increased slightly, not by much. But there are 2 new hop-ups now to replace those, which is the Anvil Receiver, which can go onto the Flatline and R301. Its rarity is level 4, which is gold. And this hop-up empowers semi-auto mode, specifically, so you can't use automatic with it. But it offers highly increased damage, but you get reduced rate of fire, and it uses double ammo per shot. So you use a lot of ammo, but it's pretty good for dishing out a lot of damage from a reasonable distance now. And then you can always switch it back to automatic, and then ruin people's days with that as well. The other new hop up is double tap trigger, which this goes onto the G7 or the EVA 8. And its rarity is level 3, which is the purple. And this hop-up makes each trigger pool fire a quick 2-round burst. And that's really it, but honestly it is OP, because you can deal basically double the damage within the same amount of time. For the consumables, specifically the ultimate accelerant, they've basically they made it so that way the charge for the ultimate accelerant is, instead of it being 20%, is now 35%, but they've also reduced the amount you find it in the world by 40%, which is a lot. So you don't find them as much anymore, but they do give you a better boost as well. So use them wisely. They've also changed how some of the gold gear works since they've moved around the Executioner perk. So the gold backpack has a new perk, which is Guardian Angel. And with Guardian Angel, you're able to revive down teammates with bonus health and shields. Well, that is if they have armor. And so this basically allows you to get your friends into the fight almost immediately after reviving them, which is really nice. And then the gold armor, which is where they took away the Executioner perk from, it now has fast use, which essentially it takes half as long to use consumables, which it was previously on the gold backpack, but now they took away the Executioner perk. So they moved it down to the gold armor, so that way you're able to tell when you're shooting at someone, when the gold numbers appear for you hitting their gold armor, you know for a fact that that they're gonna have a fast healing ability, and so basically you know to rush them and stuff, which I really like, and that's what my friends and I have been doing every time that we see those gold numbers. Is we're like, all right, we know that this person can quickly heal, so we need to take him out quickly, and that's what we do, and it's really helpful. And the changes with weapons, the first one is the R99. They've reduced the magazine size for it. So before it was 18 for the base, 22. Okay, so I'm just going to go up the extended mag thing. So first it's base, and then it's the normal light mag, and then it's the rare light mag, and then it's the epic light mag. So it's 18, 22, 26, and 30, but now it is 18, 20, 23, and 27. And they've added some recoil randomness to the patterns, but it's mostly the same. For the longbow, they've reduced the rate of fire from 1.6 to 1.3, which has significantly decreased the DPS of the longbow, not making it as viable anymore. I've seen some more people actually using the triple take instead of the longbow, which is interesting just because the DPS has been decreased because of the rate of fire being decreased. And then the G7 Scout has actually gotten its base damage increased by 4 from 30 to 34, making it really OP if you have double tap trigger, because then you're able to deal 68 damage every time that you shoot, as long as you hit both of the shots at the same time. For the Hemlock, the base damage has been increased from 18 to 22, and there's been a slight decrease in rate of fire for both the fire modes. That's for burst and for single fire. For the L-Star, it is substantial reduction to the horizontal recoil, and now it comes equipped with a 1x digital threat optic, and they've also reduced the damage from 21 to 19. So for the most part, I'm not going to mention the bugs or quality of life changes, but there is one that I wanted to mention, which is when you're swapping weapons with one on the ground, attachments will now attempt to transfer to your stowed weapon, instead of just putting them on the ones that you picked up or dropping them on the ground. So it'll try to transfer them and distribute them properly. But besides all of that, make sure you check our Instagram, our Twitter, and our website. And also make sure you check out our Discord. If you like the music you heard in this podcast, then make sure you check out DJ Augie. He made the music for this podcast. And if you want to see some gameplay of Season 3, I do have a YouTube channel, and I will be posting a video of Apex Season 3. I will have that in the description. But besides all of that, game on.